boys and girls, today we're going to finish our Time Warp Trio book. So today our vocabulary word is cooperation. We're going to see a surprise example of cooperation. Cooperation is when people work together to do something. They cooperate. You can use cooperation to clean up at your house. You could have used it in our classroom also. We would cooperate to clean up the room. Cooperation is when people work together to do something. So chapter 10 starts on page 56, and we're going to look for cooperation. At the end of the chapter, we are also going to read a short chapter 11. And in your book, it's the last page of your workbook that you have to do for this year on page 135, and you will finish your story map. So by the end of all the story maps, now we should have a solution. Okay, way back in the beginning of the story, you wrote down the problem, and now we're ready for the solution. So, chapter 10, page 56, look for cooperation. About 1 second after Fred's thunderbolt hit the ground, all Hades broke loose. The Minotaur charged. Dionysus vaulted over his horns and hung on for dear life. Poseidon pinned the Chimera's snake-head tail to the ground, but its nasty goat head butted him flying. Lightning and thunder rocked the air. Sam, Fred, and I dove under Zeus's overturned throne. "Joe, this is completely out of control," said Sam. "If the monsters take over Mount Olympus, all the stories of the Greek myths will be changed, and I think we will be in a whole lot of permanent trouble." "Can't you do one of those big exploding puff of smoke tricks like your Uncle Joe does?" said Fred. I peeked out and saw Hera pulling a Gorgon's snake hair. Athena twirled her sword over her head to fight off 3 nagging harpies. "I don't think this crowd is really in the mood for tricks," I said. "We've got to find the book to get Greek mythology back to normal and us back to school. So why don't we—" "Ah!" screamed Sam. One of Typhoon's dragon heads scooped Sam up in its jaws and dragged him out from under the throne. Fred and I both grabbed for his foot, but he was gone. We jumped out into the battle to see Sam bonk the dragon head with his lyre. It made a musical boing. The dragon head paused to listen. That gave me a plan. Our play had brought the Greek myths to life. Maybe something from the play could save our lives. "Hit it again!" I yelled. "Are you crazy?" said Fred. "You are just going to make it matter." Sam's lyre gave another boing. "Not the dragon head," I yelled. "Hit the lyre, Sam." So play the instrument. 2 of Typhon's other heads turned toward the musical noise. "Music is the power, just like in the play. Play some music to conquer these monsters," I called. "I hope you know what you're doing," said Fred. "Me too," I said, because if not, Sam was dragon lunch. Sam strummed a few notes. 2 of the harpies fluttered down onto Aphrodite's throne to listen. "Go, Sam, go," said Fred. "I think it's working." The dragon head lowered Sam to the ground. He started his one and only song again, "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star." Hera and the Gorgons stopped to listen. A few more bars and the Minotaur looked up. All 3 of Cerberus's heads turned Sam's way. "But he only knows one song," whispered Fred. "As soon as they figure that out, we're cooked." The sound of the lyre slowly overtook the screams and shouts of fighting. "If we could only find someone who could play more," I said. "But who?" "Apollo," said a voice in my ear. "Apollo," I said. "Of course, the god of music. Who else?" I turned around, and there was Estia. It was her voice. She pointed to Apollo, who was helping Artemis fight off 3 rock-crushing cyclopses. I hopped over a stream of poisonous, burning Cerberus drool and dodged my way over there. "Apollo," I said, "you're our only hope. Can you play anything besides Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star? Apollo ducked under a Cyclops' swinging fist. He looked at me like I was from the moon. Can I play music? Is Aphrodite beautiful? Is Athena smart? Can Dionysus drink wine? Hand me that stringed thing. I'll show you music. Sam, I called. Hand the lyre over to Apollo. Sam backed up toward us slowly. The eyes of Typhon, the Gorgons, and half the Harpies were on him. Be my guest, said Sam. He stopped mid-verse, tossed the lyre to Apollo, and dove behind Estia. Apollo caught the lyre and finished the song without missing a beat. Cerberus growled a warning. One of the Harpies squawked. Apollo started Twinkle Twinkle again, but this time he turned it into a wild waterfall of notes playing over, around, and through the tune. The snakes on the Gorgons' heads started swaying with the music. The Cyclopses stomped their big, ugly feet in time. Zeus and Hera rocked, with their arms around each other. I couldn't believe it. It was just like in our play. Music was the answer to calm the crazy monsters and all the fighting gods and goddesses. Apollo must have played 10 different variations on Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, each more amazing than the last. Every one of the gods and monsters was hypnotized by the sound. I looked around Mount Olympus. Aphrodite held Typhon's hand. Dionysus danced with the Minotaur. Everybody was happy. Everybody but Fred, Sam, and me. The gods and monsters of Greek mythology were safe, but we were still 3 guys in bedsheet togas a long way from home. I felt an arm around my shoulder. It was Estia. You knew the answer to save us all along, she said. I guess we did, I said. I just wish we knew the answer to save ourselves and get us back to opening night, said Sam. Fred picked up his broken thunderbolt and knocked it thoughtfully against his own head. It might not be bad to hang out and be gods for a while. Yeah, said Sam, not very convincingly. I'd give it all up for the book, I said. Done, said Hestia. She held up a small blue book wrapped in gold cloth. No more insults, said Sam. I think even I've had enough for one day. Estia handed me my slightly scuffed golden apple. Here, you'll need this. She straightened my toga with a gentle pat. Break a leg. She handed me the half-wrapped book and touched Fred's thunderbolt to it. Something sparked and glowed weirdly for a second. Then a wisp of green mist swirled around us. A book! Our book! It's not a book, it's the book, babbled Sam. I looked down at the thin blue book covered with odd silver writing and symbols. But how? Who? Where? I stuttered. Estia smiled, a very mom-like smile. I told you it was on the bookshelf. I guess it always takes the goddess of hearth and home to find things around here. The green mist spun around us. We floated over the peaceful gods and monsters wrapped in the sound of Apollo's song and disappeared into time, space, and who knows where. All right, so before I continue with chapter 11, chapter 10 in your book is page 135, and that is where I should see the solution. So there was one thing that stopped everybody from fighting, and that should be part of your solution. Okay, and chapter 11. Now we're back at school. Music washed over everyone. Gods and monsters danced arm in arm, and then it was over. The lights faded to black. The parents stood and clapped and cheered. We bowed. Fred launched his slightly battered thunderbolt out over the crowd. The audience clapped and cheered more and more and more. Opening night was a smashing success. After everyone got changed backstage, Fred, Sam, and I found our parents in the crowd outside the auditorium. The moms looked at us all misty-eyed. So they were like crying, so happy. The dads patted us on the back. You were wonderful, said Sam's mom. Just like we were really there on Mount Olympus, said Fred's dad. Fred, Sam, and I looked at each other. You can say that again, said Fred. I took a certain thin blue book wrapped in gold cloth out of my backpack. Where's Uncle Joe? I have something I have to give him. Oh, he disappeared like he always does, said my mom. I'm not sure where he went. Oh, great, I said. Is it something I could take? My mom put her arm around me exactly like Estia had on Mount Olympus. Sam nodded his head up and down. Well, I think... Fred gave me a quick thumbs-up sign. I thought about all the trouble the book had got us into. I thought about the great adventures the book had got us into. I tucked the golden package carefully back into my backpack. Sam and Fred stared at me in disbelief. I think I'll hang on to it and figure out another plan. So there he goes. Joe's putting it back in his bag. Okay, so at the end of the book, it gives you a list as if this is something that you would get at the play to tell you all the different characters. So all the different characters we read about and who they are and how they're related. And then at the very end, there are some ways to make your own Greek mythology props. So if you were interested in Greek mythology. I really hope you enjoyed this book. This was our last chapter book of 2nd grade. So great job. And next chapter book for school will be in 3rd grade.